Hi, this is Mike Maloney, and I've got Jeff Clark, the Senior Precious Metals Analyst of GoldSilver.com, and Chris Martenson from Peak Prosperity with me. Jeff, you're the MC, so take it away.
Hi, guys. It's great to be back with you. Happy holidays. And this will be the last video of the year, I believe, with Chris. So, Chris, thanks for joining us this year. It's been great having you.
Well, thanks. And 11 to 17 inches sometime tonight is the snowfall count. So, Mike, I'm very jealous.
Wow, 11 to 17 inches. Yeah. Well, here in San Juan, it gets down to about 75 degrees at night.
That's terrible. Jeez.
Yeah.
Sweater territory.
Well, our first topic of the day is this article that I saw that I want to talk about with you guys and kind of get your input. And that is there's a new warning that the international pandemic responses are eroding freedoms. And this isn't actually new, of course. There's been a lot of reports of this going on this year. But this one is just yet another agency, and it's actually a very informative article. It goes into some detail about how our freedoms are eroding. So what I want to ask you guys is this. After 9/11, we saw tighter airport security measures. We saw more cameras on street corners and things like that. So, Chris, I want to ask you first, but to both of you, what do you think is going to be the outcome or the societal changes that we're going to see as a result of the pandemic?
Well, that's a really great question. And things are moving a lot faster than I expected. And I think faster than most people can really absorb. So normally, I think in a usual society, you might have a robust conversation around where that line of encroachment on people's rights actually would happen. But there is no conversation this time. You just have governors signing executive orders. It's a pandemic. It's an emergency. Don't you understand? There's nothing we can do. We saw the LA Times decry people who are talking about, communities want to organize and say, we're not shutting down. We don't want to destroy all our small businesses here. And the LA Times has branded them resistors. They called them conspiracy theorists. And so now you're a resistor and a conspiracy theorist if you open up a clinical trial report and you go, oh my gosh, people could, this is really avoid the worst of this with these treatments that we now know about. And it's maybe not a lot worse than a lot of other diseases, but somehow we have to get on with our lives. And that's not what's happening. So I'm a believer that this is both a real virus that's pretty bad and I don't want to get it, but we have good treatments now. And government is using this to really overstep their bounds and just steamroll over rights, including, I think everybody, maybe most people saw this. If you haven't, check it out. This video of this woman, she's crying. She owns a restaurant in LA, outdoor pavilion, under a tent, shut down by executive order, can't run a restaurant. Very annoyingly, right in the same parking lot, right next to her thing that's shut down, all these tents got set up for a movie company so they can feed their workers and production crew while they're shooting a movie because the movie is essential to something, right? It's not just injurious, it's insulting. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I saw that clip too. It was actually heartbreaking to see what happened to that lady. But Mike, what do you think? What are any long-term societal changes we see as a result of the pandemic?
Well, complete loss of freedom and the rise of socialism. But one thing I do want to mention is in that clip, what she's complaining about is that the mayor of Los Angeles has her shut down while he approved this movie company. So it's the government that decided this. The government decided the movie industry gets these special breaks because they're his friends, and then she has to go out of business. That's what she was crying about. The government has decided to put her out of business. So, what I'm really concerned about, Chris has been censored lately. A long time ago, I lost my Wikipedia page. I used to donate a lot to Wikipedia because I use them a lot in my research. And so I was giving back. I've sent them, I think my first donation to them was $1,000. And then I send them $100 periodically. But then they took down my Wikipedia page. They took down Chris's Wikipedia page a few months ago. And recently there's a man named Dan Larimer who developed the most used blockchains that there are in the world are all developed by Dan Larimer. And this is a guy that had conversations directly with Satoshi Nakamoto and told him what the problems were that were going to be inherent in the way Bitcoin had been engineered. And everything he said turned out to be true. And he designed Steemit, BitShares, and EOS. And these make up about 80% of all the blockchain traffic. So he is somebody that has done something that it's not like a self-promotional thing or anything. He's really changed the world, and yet his Wikipedia page was recently deleted. And we're seeing people with all of the, there's a group of doctors that they're trying in Germany, a group of doctors, and I can't name because we have to be afraid of censorship here too. So I can't name the current health problem that the world is experiencing right now. But they have information about this, and this is like 500 doctors. Their YouTube channel has been deleted. They no longer have a YouTube channel for these videos. So the censorship that is going on right now, recently, our episode 10 of Hidden Secrets of Money was taken down. Now, this was supposedly for copyright infringement. And there isn't a single second in any of our videos that isn't either shot by us or animated by us or purchased and licensed. And that includes all of the music. We purchase and license everything. These are not cheap. An episode of Hidden Secrets of Money may cost $100,000 or more. I mean, it's shot in 18 different countries, 2 full-time animators. This isn't cheap to produce. We've got them on YouTube, and episode 10 had well over 1 million views. So it does significant damage to our channel when somebody makes a claim and they take down a video and send you a warning. If you do this copyright infringement again or whatever. Now, Chris was censored outright just because of some of the science that he is presenting. And so this censorship basically is the end of freedom. Dan Larimer wrote something that I want to quote here. Pay attention to any content that is censored. It almost always indicates a threat to those in power and knowledge you likely need to know. Truth does not require censorship. However, lies depend upon censorship of the truth. And so with all of this censorship and trying to promote the official narrative or the narrative that Google, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube want us to hear, the censorship is to support their position. This is the way Hitler came to power. Sorry, I rambled, but this is a threat. It's like goodbye to freedom. This is, I am, one thing that I do fear is socialism. Socialism is the meanest, cruelest. These people, in order to have their ideals, in order for it to work out, they have to force everybody into their system. And they do this through theft and fraud and enslavement and murder. They have to kill those or send them to re-education camps. At my age, I don't want to end up in a re-education camp. I've worked all of my life. I'm about to get a farm. I've got a farm, and it's beautiful. And I want to be able to sit by my little river. I want to be able to have a campfire with a view and a steak grilling on it and a beer in my hand and enjoy some of life, because I've worked all of my life to try to get some of these things. I didn't start out rich. I started out, my family was upper middle class, but I had to do all of this on my own. And socialism is a threat to taking away all of that. And when you don't have private property rights, you destroy all incentive. So I've rambled on too much here, but socialism is a recipe for poverty, and this is the direction that we're going. And that censorship is what supports it.
Right. I think the message is that greater censorship is on the way, and it's definitely a trend in motion. So,
Yeah.
okay, on to the next topic. We said last time that, I asked you guys, should we just buy stocks because they keep going up? The Fed's just going to keep printing currency, all these stimulus efforts. And Chris, you kind of admitted that, well, maybe we should. But this article shows, and he doesn't have a chart, which is kind of frustrating, but he said, the setup for selling overvalued U.S. equities and buying undervalued precious metals, particularly gold and silver, today looks exceptional. The gold to S&P 500 ratio just posted its worst decline in 37 years, meaning gold went down and the S&P went up during this 30-day period he's measuring more than at any other time in 37 years. The obvious implication is that if you're looking for value, the better value is clearly with gold and silver and not stocks. Chris, what do you make of that?
Well, I'm increasingly, Jeff, of the mind that it's all kind of rigged. Everything's been rigged, right? We found out that last year J.P. Morgan got fined nearly $1 billion for rigging the gold market, and their presence in the gold market wasn't impinged on in the slightest, and we still see the same shenanigans day after day. So I'm of the mind that a lot of what we call markets need, air quotes, two sets because they're so perverted. My grandfather, my father would not recognize them. Heck, my younger self doesn't recognize them because they're not markets anymore. They're not price discovery mechanisms where free people come together and free prices are determined. We now live in this socialist environment where there is a group of people. Stop me if you've heard this story before. There's a small cabal of unelected people who think they know the right price for everything, right? That's the Soviet model. It's also the Federal Reserve's model, right? So they think they know the price of everything, but I'm also a big believer that they can't possibly get that right. They're going to make mistakes. The complex machinery of the economy is not something you can control because you know the right price for money, and they set every dial on that. So I got to be honest. A lot of people talk about stocks. They want to know about stocks. I'm all about that, but I'm going to say this: if you don't have your larger hard asset portfolio already in place first, do that before we talk about stocks. So I'm talking, where's your food coming from? What kind of, how's your soil growing? Things like that. So at any rate, I increasingly think that this thing we're experiencing right now is like a kabuki theater. It's just show. And I think they're going to get it wrong. I think they're going to get it really wrong. And when it breaks, I think you got to know, honestly, we're at the bottom of your Maslow's hierarchy of need. Remember down there, food, shelter, safety, warmth, right? You got to kind of know where that stuff is first. Then we can start talking about other things. So that's it. I think it's just rigged and for show at this point in time. We know the price of everything, but almost the value of nothing as a result.
Yeah, good point. Excellent. Yes. So, Mike, what do you think? Stocks versus gold, the better values with gold right now?
I'm still of the opinion that gold will win out on this thing. Gold and silver will win out over other financial assets. But I am, I'm purchasing this farm. I am going to most likely take out a mortgage. And because if I wrote in my book back in 2005, 6, and 7, when I was writing my book, that gold and silver will be the big winners, or if you go into debt at just the right time. And just the right time means when interest rates are about to reverse, before hyperinflation or huge inflation takes hold. You want to lock in a fixed rate, long-term debt. However, there's people out there, Clive Mond wrote an article recently. It's a bit on the conspiracy theorist side. So I don't want it, but it's in Loving Memory of Freedom, 1949 to 2019. Rest in peace. So freedom, rest in peace. And in there, he's proposing that the method that that the authorities, those in power, he believes in the New World Order conspiracy, that they will use debt to basically send everybody back to debtor's prison and impose a feudal system on all of us. Now, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Barbie, sorry, I did that on purpose. He says that in the future, nobody will own everything and will rent everything. And I have one question for him. Who will we be renting it from? Right now, the world's central banks are on this rampage of legally printing, counterfeiting currency into existence and buying up everything. And if they are able to use debt, then debt can be dangerous. If they're able to use debt to enslave people, and like student loans, you can't get out of that with bankruptcy and stuff. A whole bunch of laws have been changed. People should only take on debt if they have other assets that exceed the debt that can counterbalance it. You have to be able to erase your debt at any given moment if you believe that debt could enslave you. And debt, you are enslaving yourself when you take on a lot of debt, unless you have this big exit and your timing is good and you think interest rates are going to change. I think gold and silver will outperform stocks. The gold-silver ratio the Dow gold ratio has gone back up to 16 point something. Historically, the reversions have been in 1933 or 34, it went to a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning that the Dow Jones Industrial, the points on it was twice the price of gold. In 1980, it went to a 1-1 ratio, where the points on the Dow and the price of gold were the same. And that, I believe, if you look at the charts, is because it's more energy being released. It went from an equilibrium up to a place where it was in a bubble, down to 2, a place where it was in a bigger bubble, and down to 1. And then the greatest bubble in history in the year 2000, and we're in the process of reversion. I believe that it's probably going to be where the price of gold will be double the points of the Dow. But even if it only goes to 2, it means that gold will outperform stocks by a factor of 8. If it goes to 1, like it did in 1980, if history repeats, then you're talking about the gold outperforming stocks by a factor of 16. And if it goes to 1/2, which would be history repeating, but with a twist, based on the fundamentals that exist right now, then you're talking about gold outperforming stocks by a factor of 16 times, and I expect silver to outperform gold significantly, at least by a factor of 4. So take those gold figures and multiply them. Stocks are just not the place to be. I do believe that Chris is right. Chris, when did they move the servers? What year was that they moved the servers closer to the exchange?
I think that was 2015, I believe.
Okay.
14. It was in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy.
And they are manipulating the market more and more. But still, in March, we got a 50% crash, a 50% retracement of the market. That's a huge crash. And the servers were already located where they can manipulate things, where they're ahead of all of the other trades by microseconds. They're that much closer. The speed of electricity is, and so they have the advantage of manipulating the markets. But what I think we're going to see is much greater volatility. We will see them create trillions of dollars to manipulate the markets, but I don't think they can do it instantly, or we really wouldn't. I don't think we would have had that March crash. So I do believe that eventually we will see gold, the Dow gold ratio, will go back to 2, or at least like 4 at minimum, 2, 1, 1/2, somewhere in there. And so I plan on converting my precious metals into other financial assets in tranches as we get near this top, measured by things like the Dow gold ratio, the gold real estate ratio, the value of the gold held by the Federal Reserve compared to the quantity of currency that they've created. There's a whole bunch of different measurements that I'm using to try and figure out where the top is here in this. But I think we've got the greatest crisis in history coming. So I think we're going to see the greatest relative asset ratios happen, they're going to go to extremes never before seen. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay, very good. And just for some perspective, in that article he's referring to, the gold S&P ratio is what he's talking about. It's currently at 16. It's been
No, that's the Dow Gold. The gold S&P ratio is, he says S&P in the article. The gold is at 6, Dow Gold is at 16. What, Chris?
The S&P must be a 2, right? Ish.
Yeah, the S&P is, the problem with using the S&P for this is a lot of periods of time, it reads in a ratio of 0.0 or 0.00 something. And people don't think that way. So I always use the Dow Gold. And then I had my research assistant, Alan Hibbard, do a correlation on the Dow and the S&P all the way back to the year 19, the S&P only goes to the 1950, but Robert Shiller recreated it going back to the year 1880 or something. So he did a correlation from 1900 until today, and it's correlated at 0.98 something. So they're almost an exact match. So it doesn't matter which one you use. They're going during different periods of time, they will diverge a little bit, but then they come right back to you. So the article, he says the S&P, but if he quoted 16, that's the Dow Gold ratio.
Right, I misspoke. That 16 is referring to the Dow. It's 16 and a half something right now. But the point I wanted to make is that back in 1980, the Dow Gold ratio was 1, and we're at 16 now.
Right.
And by the way,
we're coming off a high of 45 in the year 2000, which is insane. The last peak before that was 28, and the peak before that was 18. The 1929, before the 1929 stock market crash, the high in the Dow Gold was 18. So we're coming off this insane valuation where paper assets were overvalued ridiculously, and gold and silver forgotten about. Nobody even wanted to hear about them in the year 2000. And so tremendously undervalued. We're in the middle of the reversion, and the reversion will continue. I believe now it's going to speed up over the next 3 years. You'll see this reversion complete, I believe. Sorry,
right. So
go ahead.
Over the next 3 years, there's a long way down for the Dow and up for the gold in that ratio.
The Dow doesn't have to go down. I mean, Chris is talking about a melt up because of a rigged market. But if they do that, they're going to be creating trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And as they do that, people start fearing the purchasing power of the dollar falling. So they move toward hard assets like gold and silver to protect their purchasing power. And so you could see the Dow going up, but gold going up at twice the pace. And so this measurement of Dow gold, the price means nothing. Value is everything. And Chris just said today, everybody knows the price of things and nobody knows the value. And
yes, but I know this. I know that more than 37% of all the currency ever created in U.S. history was created this year. And most of that happened in just the last 10 weeks, right? A huge amount of that. So
yeah,
give that what you will. People are like, oh, the Fed's not really expanding its balance sheet. Oh, but M1 is exploding, baby. And that's all you really need to know. That's what they care about. Super high correlation between M1 creation and financial assets going up. And we all know who the Fed really cares about. They have their LNBB program, the Leave No Billionaire Behind program. That's who they care about. They get invited to Davos. They get the hobnob. Let's be clear about this. The Federal Reserve is not serving the average person. They're working for the billionaire class, and they're doing a great job at it. I think they deserve a golf clap. They're doing fabulous at it. But the rest of us got to make other plans.
Right.
The average person just does not realize that they're mad that these billionaires are getting so rich. A lot of people out there. And they don't realize that it's the Federal Reserve stealing from them and giving their wealth to the billionaires. That's the process. You don't see the dollars coming out of your pocket, but what you see is a devaluation of some assets against others. And the assets that are gaining in valuation are the ones that the billionaires own. And it's all caused by the Federal Reserve redistributing wealth.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we got to rent all our stuff from somebody, I guess.
Right. Yeah. The world central banks will own everything, and we'll rent it from them and we'll be happy. according to Klaus Barbie, Schwab.
Got you again. Well, listening to you guys talk about this, it really just reinforces that I feel so much more comfortable being in gold than I do in stocks right now. And like you said, Mike, I sleep better owning gold. So, well, as we wrap this video up, and it's like I said earlier, it's our last one with Chris for the year. So I just want to ask you guys, how are you celebrating the holidays? Are you doing anything creative or different this year or fun in a year of lockdowns and shutdowns? So, Chris, any fun or creative things you're doing this holiday season?
Oh, yeah, we're having a blast. First up, we're opening up all sorts of subsidiary accounts on different platforms so that we can evade the censors. That's who doesn't associate that with Christmas? But otherwise, this is our first year here at what we're calling Honey Badger Farms, and we had a really big year here, and we worked so hard. So this is all about rest, relaxation, and just really taking the time to reflect on what we have accomplished, which is a lot. So Evie and I are just happy as can be being here in our new home for our first Christmas in it. So it's pretty special.
Oh, that's great. So, Mike, are you doing anything fun or different or creative for this particular year, holiday season?
Yes, I am. The piece of property that I bought is very, very hurricane damaged. So I got it at a special deal. Are no habitable structures on it. Like Chris was able to just move into his farm, and he's able to do it himself. So I have a manager up there full time so that I can continue to work down here. There is no internet up there. Phone service is sketchy. No places to live. You basically have to live in a tent. But I'm planning on taking the week off between Christmas and New Year's and going up there when a bunch of friends were cutting a road. There's a peak in the middle of the property where I can see both sides of the island at once, the north and the south side of the island at once. And I want to sit up there with a campfire. I have a big old New York steak aging right now. I've got I turned my wine refrigerator in this apartment that I'm at in San Juan, and I'm not a big wine drinker, into a meat aging locker by adding bricks of salt and a fan and keeping it below 40 degrees and down around 30% humidity. And it does a phenomenal job. So I'll be up there cooking aged New York steaks over a campfire. There's this great brand of beer here called Medalla. I'm going to have a Medalla in my hand, a campfire, a steak, and a view, and friends. And it'll be great.
Oh, that sounds great. I want to join you, Mike.
Yeah, my first vacation in years, actually. So
yeah,
good. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, for me, I'm just I write all the time, but over the holidays I'm going to do some more writing that I want to do personally. So that's how I'm going to spend my shut-in year here for the holidays. So, well, guys, this has been a great video. Thanks so much for weighing in all these topics. Chris, we will see you again next year. And happy holidays, guys.
All right. Happy holidays and have a happy new year.
Bye, guys. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jeff.